Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. She had been patrolling the outer edge of human space for 3 months now. It was quiet work, mostly checking on mining stations and making sure no pirates were bothering the trade ships. The Liberty was not the biggest ship in Earth's fleet, but it was fast and well-armed. 200 crew members called it home, and Martinez was proud of every one of them. They were good people, ready to do whatever job came their way. Martinez sipped her coffee and looked at the star maps on her screen. Tomorrow, they would check on the mining station at Alpha Centauri B, then head back to Ward Earth for supplies. It was a normal patrol, the kind she had done dozens of times before. Lieutenant Jake Peterson sat at his communications station, headphones on his ears. He was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and quick hands that moved over his controls like he was playing music. Peterson was good at his job. He could pull signals out of static that other people could not even hear. Captain Peterson said suddenly, taking off his headphones. "I'm getting something strange." Martinez walked over to his station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress signal, but not from any human ship. The frequency is way off what we use." Gasped. "And Captain, it's coming from outside our space, maybe 50 light years toward the Galactic Center." Martinez frowned.
Wow.
50 light years was far, but not impossible for their ship to reach. "Can you clean up the signal?" Peterson's fingers moved over his controls. Speakers around the bridge started making noise, mostly static with strange sounds mixed in. Then they heard it. A voice high and musical but filled with fear. "Please, anyone who can hear this message. Our world is under attack." They came from the dark between stars. "Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. Please, if anyone in the galaxy has mercy, help us. Help us before we are all gone." The bridge went quiet. Everyone had stopped what they were doing to listen. The voice continued, sometimes clear, sometimes lost in static. It spoke of ships that blocked out the sun, of weapons that turned people to dust, of a peaceful world that had never known war suddenly facing total destruction. "Peterson, can you get a location on that signal?" Martinez asked. "Yes, Captain. It's coming from a system about 48 light years from here. Kepler 442, according to our star charts. There's supposed to be a habitable planet there." Had heard of Kepler 442b? Earth's long-range telescopes had spotted it years ago. A world with 2 suns, covered in blue oceans and green continents. Scientists thought it might have life, but no one had ever gone there to check. How long to get there at maximum jump speed? She asked. 36 hours, Captain, but that would push our engines pretty hard. Martinez thought about it. First contact rules were clear. If they met alien life, they were supposed to be careful, study the situation, and report back to Earth Command before taking any action. But the fear in that alien voice was real by the time they could get permission. From Earth, whatever was happening would be over. "Captain," said Commander Amy Foster from the tactical station. Foster was Martinez's second in command, a tough woman with red hair and sharp blue eyes. "If we go there, we don't know what we'll find. Could be a trap. Could be something way too big for us to handle." Martinez nodded. Foster was right to be careful, but she kept hearing that voice, the way it begged for help from anyone in the galaxy who might listen. "Peterson, send a message back to Earth Command. Tell them we've received a distress signal from outside human space and we're going to investigate. Include a copy of the alien transmission." "Yes, Captain." "Foster, I want all weapon systems checked and ready. Someone is attacking that planet, we might need to fight." "Already on it, Captain." Martinez looked around her bridge. Her crew was young, most of them in their 20s and 30s. They had trained for combat, but none of them had ever been in a real battle. The closest they had come was chasing off some pirates, and that had ended without anyone firing a shot, but she was proud of how they worked together. Peterson was already sending their message to Earth, his hands steady, even though Martinez could see excitement in his eyes. Foster was talking quietly to the weapons crew, making sure everything was ready. The pilot, Lieutenant Sam Wilson, was checking their jump calculations twice to make sure they would come out of hyperspace in the right place. Captain Peterson said, "I've got Admiral Walsh on the communication line."
Admiral.
Connor Walsh appeared on the main screen.
It was an
An older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Martinez had served under him for 5 years and respected him more than any officer in the fleet. Martinez, I got your message. Are you sure about this alien distress call? It's not some kind of test signal or space junk, I'm sure, Admiral. Peterson's cleaned up the audio. It's definitely from an intelligent species, and they're in real trouble. Walsh was quiet for a moment. Martinez could see him thinking, weighing the risks. You know the rules about first contact, Captain? Yes, sir. But Admiral, listen to this. Martinez nodded to Peterson, who played the cleaned-up version of the alien message. The fear in the voice was even clearer now. Martinez watched Walsh's face as he listened to the alien begging for help. When the message ended, Walsh was quiet for a long time. Finally, he sighed. How long to get there? 36 hours at maximum jump speed. And how long for you to get back to Earth and for us to send a proper first contact team? Martinez did the math in her head. At least a week, sir. Walsh nodded slowly. By then, whatever's happening will be over. Martinez, you're authorized to investigate, but be careful. We don't know what you're flying into. Thank you, Admiral. Good luck, Captain. Bring your people home safe. The screen went dark. Martinez looked around her bridge again. 200 men and women were about to jump into the unknown, maybe into a battle they could not win. But she could not ignore that call for help. Wilson, set course for Kepler, 442, maximum jump speed. Course set, Captain. Foster, battle stations. I want everyone ready for anything. Red lights started flashing throughout the ship as the crew prepared for combat. Martinez could hear the sound of boots in the hallways as her people moved to their positions. The ship's engines began to sing with power as they prepared to jump into hyperspace. Peterson, keep trying to contact that planet. Let them know help is coming. Yes, Captain. Liberty shuddered slightly as it entered hyperspace. Through the viewing window, the stars changed from points of light to long streaks. They were moving faster than light now, racing through space toward a world in trouble. Martinez stood on her bridge, coffee forgotten in her hand. In 36 hours, her crew would make first contact with an alien species. They might also find themselves in the middle of a war, but she had made her choice. Someone had called for help, and the humans were coming. She did not know yet that her decision would change everything. She did not know that Earth's children were about to show the galaxy what it meant to come from a world where violence and death were part of everyday life. She only knew that someone was in trouble, and that was enough. The USS Liberty dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Lisa Martinez gripped the arms of her command chair as the ship shook from the sudden return to normal space. On the main screen, 2 yellow suns burned brightly, but something was wrong with the picture. Captain Lieutenant Sam Wilson said from the pilot seat, "We've got big problems." Martinez could see it now. The beautiful blue-green planet they had come to help was surrounded by massive ships. The alien vessels were unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked like giant crystals, all sharp edges and glowing surfaces. Some were as big as cities, floating in space like deadly jewels. "My God," whispered Commander Amy Foster. "How many ships are there?" "I count 47 large vessels and maybe 200 smaller ones," Peterson said from his communications station. His voice was steady, but Martinez could see his hands shaking slightly. The planet below was not the peaceful world their telescopes had shown them. Bright fires burned across the continents. Even from space they could see explosions lighting up the dark side of the world. Streams of small ships were fleeing the planet in all directions, trying to escape the destruction. "Peterson, are you still getting signals from the planet?" "Yes, Captain. Multiple distress calls. All in that same language we heard before? They're begging for help, saying their cities are falling one by one?" Martinez stared at the scene before them. 47 large enemy ships against 1 human vessel. The smart thing would be to run, to jump back to Earth and report what they had found. But she kept thinking about the fear in those alien voices. "Foster, what do your sensors tell us about those enemy ships?" Foster bent over her tactical display, her red hair falling across her face as she worked. "They're big, Captain. Really big. The largest ones are putting out power readings that are off the charts. but they're built strange. All those crystal surfaces, they look more like they're made to scare people than to fight. What do you mean? Well, look at their weapon placement. Everything is focused forward. They're built for attacking targets that can't fight back, not for ship-to-ship combat. They're moving in straight lines, no evasive patterns. It's like they've never had to worry about anyone shooting back. Martinez nodded. That made sense. If these aliens had been conquering peaceful worlds, they might not be used to real fights. Captain Peterson said urgently, "I'm getting a transmission from one of the fleeing ships. Audio only, but I think I can put it through the translator." "Do it." The speakers crackled. Then a voice spoke in broken English. "Please, unknown ship, do not come closer. Zephyrians will destroy you too. Our world is lost. Save yourselves." Martinez stood up. "Peterson, can you send a reply?" "I think so, Captain. Tell them we're here to help. Ask them what we're dealing with." Peterson worked at his controls, then spoke slowly into his headset. After a moment, the alien voice came back, sounding surprised. "You came to help us. But you are just one small ship. The Zephyrians have been conquering worlds for centuries. No one fights them. No one can fight them." Foster looked up from her station. "Captain, we're being scanned. 3 of the enemy ships have broken off from the main group and are heading this way." Martinez could see them on the screen now. 3 crystal ships moving toward the Liberty. They were smaller than the giants attacking the planet, but still much bigger than her ship. Wilson, evasive maneuvers. Foster, power-up weapon systems. The Liberty banked hard to the left as Wilson put them into a combat pattern. Throughout the ship, Martinez could hear the sound of her crew moving to battle stations. These were good. People trained and ready, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. "Captain," said Lieutenant Kyle Murphy from the shuttle bay, "request permission to launch rescue shuttles. Those fleeing ships are full of civilians, and some of them look damaged." Martinez thought quickly. Sending shuttles out would split her forces, but she could see the alien refugee ships struggling to escape the system. Some were barely holding together. "Permission granted, Murphy. Take 3 shuttles and start evacuating the most damaged ships. But stay close to us, yes, Captain." The 3 Zephyrian ships were getting closer now. Martinez could see them more clearly on the screen. They really did look like crystals, all straight lines and flat surfaces that caught and reflected light in strange ways. Beautiful, but somehow cold and threatening. "Incoming transmission from the lead enemy ship," Peterson reported. Through. A new voice filled the bridge, deeper and stranger than the aliens they had been trying to help. It spoke in perfect English, which surprised Martinez. "Unknown vessel, you will leave this system immediately. This world belongs to the Zephyrian Collective now. Interfere and you will be destroyed." Martinez looked around her bridge. Her young crew was waiting for her orders. Foster had her weapons ready. Wilson had the ship moving in combat patterns. Peterson was monitoring multiple alien frequencies. At once, Peterson opened a channel. "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Lisa Martinez of the United Earth ship, Liberty. We received a distress call from this planet, and we're here to help. Leave the civilian population alone, and we'll talk." The alien voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "One small ship against the might of the collective? You must be from a very young species to be so foolish. This is your final warning." The channel closed. On the screen, the 3 Zephyrian ships began to spread out, trying to surround the Liberty. "They're powering weapons," Foster reported. "Some kind of energy beam, much stronger than anything we have." Martinez made her decision. To all hands. "This is the captain. We're about to go into combat to protect alien civilians who called for our help. I know this isn't what we trained for, but it's the right thing to do. Give me everything you've got." The first Zephyrian ship fired. A beam of bright blue energy lanced across space toward the Liberty. Wilson threw the ship into a hard dive, and the beam missed by meters. "Return fire," Martinez ordered. Foster's fingers flew over her controls. The Liberty's missile tubes opened and sent 6 nuclear-tipped missiles toward the lead enemy ship. The Zephyrians seemed surprised by how fast the human weapons moved. 2 missiles hit before they could react. The crystal ship's shields flared and held. But Martinez could see damage along its hull. The perfect crystal surface was cracked and blackened. "They can be hurt," Foster said with satisfaction. "More energy." Beams flashed through space. Wilson flew the Liberty like a fighter plane, diving and turning in patterns that seemed to confuse the enemy. The Zephyrian ships were big and powerful, but they moved slowly, like they expected their enemies to. "Just sit still and die." Captain Murphy's voice came over the com from the shuttle bay. "We've got 20 alien civilians aboard the first shuttle, but Captain, you need to see this." "What is it, Murphy?" "These aliens, they're terrified of us. Not just the Zephyrians. Us. They keep asking why we're willing to die for strangers. They say they've never seen anything like it." Before Martinez could respond, Peterson called out, "Captain, more Zephyrian ships breaking off from the main fleet. Looks like 6 more heading our way." Martinez looked at the tactical display. 9 enemy ships against 1 human vessel. The smart play was to run, but the refugee ships were still fleeing, full of frightened civilians, and those distress calls were still coming from the planet. "Foster, how are we doing on missiles?" "We've got plenty, Captain, and I think I'm figuring out their shield patterns. If we hit them in the right sequence, we can break through." "Wilson, can you keep us alive against 9 ships?" The young pilot grinned. "I can try, Captain. These crystal ships are pretty, but they fly like rocks." Martinez nodded. "All right, people. Let's show these Zephyrians what humans do when someone asks for help." The Liberty dove toward the incoming enemy ships, missiles firing. Behind them, 3 human shuttles worked frantically to save alien civilians. On the planet below, cities burned while their people prayed for rescue. The humans had come to help, but they were about to learn that sometimes helping meant fighting. And they were about to show the galaxy that humans fought differently than anyone else. The battle had been raging for 2 hours when Captain Lisa Martinez realized something important. The Zephyrians were scared. It started small. The crystal ships began staying farther away from the Liberty, firing their energy beams from longer distances. When Lieutenant Sam Wilson dove straight at one of their ships, the alien vessel turned and ran, instead of holding its position. "They're changing their tactics," Commander Amy Foster said from her weapons station. Her red hair was messy from sweat, and her uniform was stained, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "They're not used to anyone fighting back."
Martinez
nodded. Through the viewing window, she could see the alien refugee ships still fleeing the system. Lieutenant Kyle Murphy and his shuttle crews had rescued over 300 civilians so far, loading them into every spare corner of the Liberty. "Captain." Lieutenant Jake Peterson called from communications. "I'm picking up chatter between the Zephyrian ships. The translator's having trouble, but I think they're calling us something that means mad ones or death lovers." "Why would they call us that?" Martinez asked. "Because we keep attacking when we should be running away. They seem to think we have some kind of death wish." Martinez almost laughed. Humans didn't have a death wish, but they were willing to risk death for the right reasons. These Zephyrians had probably never met a species that would fight when the odds were bad. Captain Murphy's voice came over the com from the shuttle. "Bay, you need to hear this. I've got one of the alien refugees who speaks pretty good English. Put him through." A new voice filled the bridge, high and musical like all the aliens, but less frightened than the others. "Captain Martinez, my name is Veltar. I am a teacher from the great city of Kelwyn. Must ask you something that my people cannot understand." "Go ahead. Why are you doing this? Your ship is small. Our enemies are many. You could leave and save yourselves. Why do you stay and fight for people you do not know?" Martinez thought about how to answer. "How do you explain to someone that helping others was just what humans did? Because you asked for help, and we heard you." There was a long pause. "Is all we called, and you came? That's all. This is not possible. In all the galaxy, no species does this. When the Zephyrians come, worlds surrender, or they die alone. No one comes to help." Before Martinez could respond, Foster called out, "Captain, big problem. The main Zephyrian fleet is moving. 20 ships heading our way." Martinez looked at the tactical display. 20 more ships plus the 6 they were already fighting. The Liberty had taken some damage, and they were running low on missiles. This was getting impossible even for humans. Peterson, any word from Earth Command? Nothing yet, Captain. We're too far away for fast communication. Martinez made a decision that would change everything. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to be badly outnumbered, but we're not running. We came here to help these people, and that's what we're going to do. Murphy, get all the refugees to the emergency shelters. Foster, prepare to ram the nearest enemy ship if we have to. Ram them? Foster stared at her captain. That will destroy us too. Maybe, but it will also destroy them, and that might give the refugee ships time to escape. Veltar's voice came over the come again, sounding shocked. Captain, did you just say you would destroy your own ship to save us? We have to. Yes. This is madness. This is not how war works. You retreat when you cannot win. You do not throw your lives away. Martinez was starting to understand something important. These aliens, even their enemies, came from peaceful worlds. They had rules for war, civilized rules. Humans came from Earth, where war had no rules except winning or dying. The 20 Zephyrian ships were getting closer. Martinez could see them. On the screen, massive crystal vessels that dwarfed her little ship. But she also noticed something else. Foster, look at their formation. They're bunched together, flying in a straight line. Forresta studied her display. You're right. It's like a parade formation, not a battle formation. You're not expecting any real resistance. What if we gave them some? Martinez turned to Wilson. How close can you get us to that formation before they can react? Wilson checked his instruments. Pretty close, Captain. They're flying slow and straight. I could put us right in the middle of them before they know what's happening. Do it, Foster. When we get close, fire everything we have at the biggest ship. The Liberty accelerated toward the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Martinez could hear the sound of her crew working throughout the ship. They were scared, she knew, but they were still doing their jobs. That was what humans did. Captain Peterson said quietly, I'm monitoring Zephyrian communications. They're arguing among themselves. Some want to retreat, others want to call. For more ships? They've never seen anything like us before. What do you mean? One of their commanders is saying we fight like demons? Another one says, we're too stupid to know when we're beaten. But Captain, they're scared. Really scared. The Liberty dove into the enemy formation like a shark into a school of fish. Wilson flew between the massive ships, so close that Martinez could see the crystal surfaces of their hulls. Foster fired missiles and energy beams at point-blank range, hitting 3 ships before they could react. The Zephyrians panicked. Their neat formation broke apart as ships tried to turn and fire at the small human vessel racing between them. 2 alien ships collided with each other, trying to get a clear shot. They don't know how to fight when the enemy gets close, Foster. Laughed. They're designed to destroy targets from far away, not to dogfight. Wilson pulled the Liberty into a climb, racing away from the confused enemy fleet. Behind them, 4 Zephyrian ships were damaged and leaking atmosphere. The others were trying to reform their lines, but they looked shaken. Captain Murphy called from the refugee area, the aliens are going crazy down here. They're saying we fight like nothing they've ever heard of. Ain't one of them asked if all humans are warriors? Martinez thought about that. Were all humans warriors? She didn't think so. Maybe compared to these peaceful aliens, they were. Peterson, open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Channel open. This is Captain Martinez. You wanted to know who we are? We're humans from Earth. We came because someone asked for help. Leave this system now, or we'll keep fighting until one of us is dead. The response came quickly, in that cold crystal voice. Humans? We have never heard of your species. You fight? Without honor? Without rules. You attack when you should surrender. We fight to win. We fight to protect people who can't protect themselves. This is madness. This is humanity. The channel closed. Martinez watched the tactical display as the Zephyrian ships began to move. At first she thought they were repositioning for another attack. Then she realized they were pulling back, moving. Away from the planet, Captain Foster said in amazement. They're retreating. All of them. They're actually running away. Martinez couldn't believe it. 26 enemy ships against 1 human vessel, and the aliens were backing down. But as she watched, the entire Zephyrian fleet began jumping to hyperspace, leaving the System 1, ship at a time. Peterson, are you getting any communications from the planet? Yes, Captain. Lots of them. They're saying the Zephyrians are leaving. They're asking if we really made them run away. Martinez looked around her bridge. Her young crew looked as surprised as she felt. They had come to help, expecting to die in the attempt. Instead, they had won. V. Eltar's voice came over the comm one more time. Captain Martinez, my people are calling you Deathworlders. They say only beings from a world of death could fight as you do. Is this true? Martinez thought about Earth with its wars and storms and predators. Maybe it was a world of death compared to these peaceful places. Yes, she said quietly. I guess. It is. The planet Kepler 4-2b, was burning. But it was still alive. Captain Lisa Martinez stood in the shuttle bay of the UES Liberty, watching as hundreds of alien refugees filled every available space. The Colliery people were tall and graceful, with blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the ship's lights. Their large eyes held a mix of gratitude and fear as they looked at their human rescuers. Captain Lieutenant Kyle Murphy said, walking up with a datapad in his hands. We've got almost 800 refugees aboard now. The planet's still sending distress calls. There are millions more people down there. Martinez nodded grimly. The Zephyrian main fleet had retreated, but they had left behind smaller ships and ground forces. Cities were still under attack, and the Liberty was just one ship with limited space. Dr. Helen Carter emerged from the medical bay, her white coat stained with blue alien blood. She looked exhausted. Captain, I need to talk to you about these aliens. Their biology is nothing like ours. What do you mean? They heal much slower than humans, and they're incredibly sensitive to shock and trauma. What would be minor injuries to us can kill them. Captain, they're not built for violence at all. Their minds seem to shut down when they see too much. Death. Martinez looked around the shuttle bay. Many of the Kalari refugees were sitting in small groups, staring at nothing. They moved slowly, like people in a dream. Is there anything we can do for them? I'm trying, but they keep asking me the same question. Want to know why we're willing to die for them. Can't understand it. Before Martinez could respond, Commander Amy Foster's voice came over the comm, Captain to the bridge. We've got incoming ships, and they're not Zephyrian. Martinez hurried back to the bridge. On the main screen, she could see new vessels approaching the system. These ships were different from both human and Zephyrian designs. They looked organic, almost like living creatures swimming through space. Are they? Martinez asked. Lieutenant Jake Peterson worked at his communications station. I'm getting signals from 12 different species, Captain. Word about what happened here has spread fast. They're all coming to see the humans who fought the Zephyrians and won. Are they friendly? I think so. They're sending diplomatic signals, asking for permission to observe. Captain, I don't think any of them have ever seen anything like what we did. Over the next few hours, more ships arrived. Martinez counted vessels from 20 different alien species, all keeping a careful distance from the Liberty. They watched but did not interfere as human shuttles continued to rescue Kalari civilians from the burning planet. Captain Peterson, I said I'm getting a communication request from something called the Galactic Mediation Council. They want to talk. Put them through. A new voice filled the bridge, speaking in careful English. Captain Martinez, I am Counselor Zephyra of the Mediation Council. We have come to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. What do you mean? You defeated the Zephyrian Collective in open combat. This has never happened before. In 300 years of expansion, no species has ever made them retreat. Martinez felt a chill. 300 years of conquest, and humanity was the first to fight back successfully. How many worlds have they taken? 17 inhabited. Systems. Billions of beings either enslaved or dead. When the Zephyrians attack, worlds surrender or they die. There is never a third option. Until now? Martinez said quietly. Yes, until now. Captain, we must ask you some questions. The galaxy needs to understand what humanity represents. The questions came for hours. The alien counselors wanted to know everything about human military, tactics, their willingness to take casualties, their reasons for helping strangers. Martinez answered as best she could, but she could see that her responses confused them. You say your species has been at war for most of its history? One counselor asked.
Yes.
We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. You see this as normal? It's what we know. We've gotten good at it because we've had to. There was a long pause. Most species achieve peace when they develop technology. You achieve technology while remaining violent. Martinez didn't know how to respond to that. Was humanity violent? She supposed they were compared to these peaceful aliens. But violence had also made them strong. Captain Murphy's voice came over the comm. We've got a problem on the planet. Our sensors are picking up a major Zephyrian ground base about 200 kilometers from the capital city. They've got thousands of Kalari prisoners. Martinez looked at the tactical display. The base was heavily defended, with energy shields and weapon platforms. A direct assault would be suicide for her small crew. How many of our people would it take to attack that base? She asked Foster. Foster studied the readings. All of them, Captain. And we'd probably lose half our crew, maybe more. Martinez thought about the math. 100 human lives to save thousands of aliens. By any logical calculation, it was a bad trade. The smart thing would be to leave, to report back to Earth and let someone else handle it, but she kept thinking about the Kalari refugees in their shuttle bay, and the fear in their voices when they talked about their captured families. Foster, start planning an assault. Murphy, prep all shuttles for ground operations. Captain, one of the alien counselors said over the comm, surely you're not considering attacking that base. The casualties would be enormous. Can't leave those prisoners, but the logical choice is to retreat. You've already done more than anyone thought possible. Martinez looked around her bridge. Her crew was tired, scared, but ready to follow her into another impossible fight. That was what humans did. Logic isn't always the most important thing, she said. The assault on the Zephyrian base began at dawn on the planet below. Sergeant Tony Rodriguez led 50 Marines in a direct attack on the main gate, while Lieutenant Sam Wilson provided air support with the remaining shuttles. Martinez watched from the Liberty's bridge as her people fought their way through the enemy defenses. The Zephyrians had superior weapons and strong positions, but they weren't used to enemies who kept coming despite heavy losses. The Marines are taking casualties, Foster reported. We've lost 8 people so far. Martinez gripped her chair. 8 good people dead, with more dying every minute. But Rodriguez and his Marines kept pushing forward, using tactics that seemed insane to the watching aliens. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. Between sounds of gunfire, we're in the prison compound. These aliens, they look like they've given up hope. When they see us fighting to save them, they start crying. More ships arrive throughout the day, bringing the total number of alien observers to over 40 different species. They watched in fascination and horror as humans threw themselves into battle after battle. Always outnumbered, always taking losses, but never stopping. Your people fight like they don't fear death, Counselor Zephyr said. We fear it, Martinez replied. We just don't let fear stop us from doing what's right. By evening, the Zephyrian base had fallen. Rodriguez and his Marines had freed over 3,000 Kalari prisoners, but the cost had been high. 22 humans were dead, and almost everyone else was wounded. Dr. Carter worked without sleep, treating both human and alien injuries. The Kalari watched her in amazement as she continued to function despite exhaustion that would have killed most species. Captain Peterson said quietly, the alien observers are sending reports back to their homeworlds of the transmissions. They're calling us Deathworlders, saying we're the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. Martinez felt tired suddenly. They had come to help, but somehow they had become something to be feared. Are we the bad guys now? She asked. No, Captain. They're not afraid. We'll hurt them. They're afraid of what we represent. We've shown the galaxy that the Zephyrians can be beaten. That's going to change everything. Through the viewing window, Martinez could see the alien ships maintaining their careful distance. They wanted to study the humans, to understand them, but they were afraid to get too close. Humanity had answered the galaxy's cry for help. But in doing so, they had revealed themselves to be something the peaceful species had never imagined. Warriors who would die for strangers, who fought without regard for the odds, who came from a world where violence and sacrifice were just part of life. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the battle for Kepler 4 to be, Galaxy had changed forever. Captain Lisa Martinez stood in the main cargo bay of the UES Liberty, surrounded by over 1,000 refugees. The tall blue aliens looked healthier now there, wounds healing slowly under Dr. Helen Carter's care. But their large eyes still held wonder and fear when they looked at their human rescuers. VEL-TAR. The Kaleri teacher, who had become their unofficial spokesman, approached Martinez with careful steps. His translator device let him speak perfect English now, but his voice still carried that musical quality all his people shared. "Captain Martinez," he said, bowing slightly, "my people have been talking. We have decided something important." "What's that?" "We want to ask Earth to protect our world. You know the Zephyrians will come back, maybe with more ships. We cannot fight them, but you can."
Martinez felt the weight of those words.
The Kaleri weren't just asking for help with one battle. They were asking humanity to become their guardians, their protectors against a hostile galaxy. "Delta, I'm just one ship captain. That's a decision for people much more important than me. But you will tell them what happened here. We'll tell them that we need the Deathworlders." Before Martinez could answer, Lieutenant Jake Peterson's voice came. "Over the come, Captain, to the bridge. Admiral Walsh is calling from Earth." Martinez made her way to the bridge, where the main screen showed Admiral Connor Walsh sitting in his office back on Earth. Behind him, she could see other high-ranking officers and what looked like government officials. "Martinez," Walsh said, his face serious, "your reports have caused quite a stir here. The President wants to know if what you're telling us is really true. Every word, Admiral. You fought a fleet of 47 enemy ships with one cruiser and one We didn't win because we were stronger, sir. We won because they didn't know how to fight someone who wouldn't give up." Walsh nodded slowly. "Your battle reports have been analyzed by our best military minds. They say what you did should have been impossible. Maybe impossible for most species, Admiral. But not for humans. That's what I'm calling about, Captain. We've been contacted by representatives from over 60 alien species in the last 24 hours. They all want the same thing." Martinez felt her stomach drop. What do they want? Protection. Every peaceful species in this part of the galaxy is terrified that the Zephyrians will come for them next. They want Earth to promise military support. The bridge went quiet. Martinez looked around at her crew. Lieutenant Sam Wilson was staring at his controls. Commander Amy Foster had stopped working entirely. Everyone understood what this meant. "Admiral, are we talking about becoming the galaxy's police force?" "That's exactly what we're talking about. The President is meeting with Congress right now to discuss it." "Martinez, in 3 days, you've made humanity the most feared and respected species in known space." Martinez thought about that. Feared and respected. Was that what they wanted to be? Captain Peterson said quietly, "I'm monitoring communications from the alien observer ships. They're still out there watching us. Want to hear what they're saying?" Martinez nodded. Peterson played several recordings. The voices belonged to different species, but the translations all carried the same message. The humans were dangerous. The humans didn't fight like civilized beings. The humans would die for strangers, which made them unpredictable and terrifying. "They think we're crazy," Foster said. "Maybe we are," Martinez replied. "Compared to them, Captain..." Dr. Carter's voice came over the come from the medical bay. "You need to see something down here." Martinez went to the medical bay where Carter was treating both human and Kaleri wounded. In one corner, she saw something that made her stop and stare. A group of young Kaleri children, no more than 10 years old, were playing together. But they weren't playing normal children's games. They were pretending to be human soldiers, making shooting sounds and diving behind imaginary cover. One child was pretending to charge an enemy position, while the others provided covering fire. "They've been doing this for hours," Carter said, "playing war games like human children do. Their parents are horrified, but the kids can't stop. They saw us fight, and now they want to be like us." Martinez watched the children play. They were copying behaviors that most of the galaxy found disturbing, but to them, it looked like heroism.
"Doctor?"
"What does this mean?" "It means we've changed them, Captain. Just by being here, By showing them that fighting back is possible, we've changed their entire culture. Martinez returned to the bridge to find Peterson monitoring dozens of alien communications channels. The chatter was constant now, with ships from across the galaxy discussing the humans and what they represented. Captain Peterson said, "I'm picking up something interesting. The Zephyrian High Command is broadcasting to their entire fleet. Want to hear it? Play it." The cold crystal voice filled the bridge, speaking in the alien language but translated by their computers. All collective forces are ordered to avoid human space in any world under human protection. The Deathworld species is too dangerous for standard conquest protocols. Martinez almost laughed. The mighty Zephyrian collective, conquerors of 17 worlds, were officially afraid of humanity. "There's more," Peterson continued. "They're calling us the monsters that other species summon when they need monsters killed." The phrase hung in the air. Monsters that other species summon. Is that what humanity had become? Admiral Walsh appeared on the screen again, this time with President Sarah Williams beside him. The president was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Martinez," the president said, "I've read your reports. I've also read the requests for protection from 43 different alien species. Do you understand what you've started?" "I think so, Madam President. Came to help, and now everyone wants us to be their protectors. That's right. The question is, are we ready for that responsibility?" Martinez thought about the Kalari children. Playing war games about the refugee families safe in her cargo bay. It's about the 22 Marines who had died saving alien prisoners they had never met. "Madam President, these people called for help, and we answered. If we don't protect them, who will?" "That's what I was hoping you'd say." "Captain, I'm authorizing the construction of a permanent fleet base in the Kepler system. You're being promoted to Admiral and given command of the new Galactic Protection Force." Martinez felt stunned. "Madam President, I'm not sure I'm qualified for that." "You're the most qualified person in human space, Admiral Martinez. You understand what we're dealing with out here?" Over the following weeks, more ships arrived from Earth. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers full of Marines. The peaceful Kepler system became humanity's first military base outside their home territory. Martinez stood on the bridge of her new flagship. The EU's Defender, watching as construction crews built orbital stations around the planet, Alary. Ships moved freely through the system now, no longer afraid of attack. "Admiral," Peterson said from his new position as her communications director, "we're getting another distress call. This time from a system 60 light-years away. Another species under attack by someone called the Hegemony." Martinez looked at the message, then at her fleet of 20 human warships. More calls for help would come, she knew. More species would cry out for salvation from enemies they couldn't fight, and humanity would answer, because that's what Deathworlders did. "Set course for the new system," she ordered. Full fleet, maximum speed. As the human ships jumped to hyperspace, Martinez realized that this was their role now. They were the monsters that came when peaceful beings needed salvation. They were the violence that civilized species couldn't bring themselves to use. They were the Deathworlders. And the galaxy would never be the same. Veldashtar found her later in her ready room, reading reports about the new threat. They were racing. "Two-Face, Admiral," he said. "My people have a saying now. When someone is in terrible danger, when all hope seems lost, we say, 'Call the Deathworlders.' It means help is coming." Martinez smiled sadly. "Is that what we are now? The ones people call when they need someone to die for them?"
"Yes, Veltar,"
said simply, "and we are grateful for it." Outside her window, the stars streaked past as the human fleet raced toward another battle, another chance to save strangers who had cried for help. The Deathworlders were coming, and the galaxy was learning. What that meant?